Hey everyone, I've got some new artwork for you today. I did this one in Photoshop. As usual, I'll show you the process and give you my thoughts, as well as some unsolicited anecdotes. I used some new hardware for this one too, so I'll briefly mention that a bit later on as well. Thanks so much for being here as always, and I hope you guys like this one. Let's go. So I had this image saved on my Pinterest page with this Highland cow, and this was also my main reference for the composition. I just really like the high horizon line where we see this nice vista. As you can see, this reference was really my overall main inspiration for the painting. I was drawn to it for the composition, and the cow is just like a nice bonus. When I was in Scotland, I saw a ton of these brown, shaggy cows around, so I felt like painting him as a nice little homage. I used a couple other references as well, looking at landscape elements, rock textures, and some vegetation, as well as some closer shots of the cows to understand the anatomy a little bit better. For the sketch, the line drawing, I'm using my little grainy pencil brush that I made from a little paint dot on my oil painting palette. My brushes are all available with a subscription over on my Patreon page, along with a video showing how I use each of my brushes. So you'll get that if you subscribe, but also you could, if you don't feel like subscribing, you can just buy the video and the brushes for, I think it's $10. So HUION were kind enough to send me their Kamvas 16 pen display, and that's what I used for this image. They were super cool about agreeing to my stipulation about giving my honest feedback about the product, since the last thing I want to do on this channel is just hawk some product at you guys that I don't really care about and that I don't use, or even worse, give you guys a false endorsement that just isn't what I actually think. So I've been offered some sponsorships on this channel, but I'm always hesitant since I care a lot about the integrity of my channel, and I feel a permanent ad in my videos would just detract from that to some degree. Now, having said that, this is genuinely a product I would recommend. I was a bit worried it would not live up to the sensitivity and just the overall quality of my Cintiq, but honestly, I was really impressed with how good it feels to draw on this thing. The 16-inch that I got is a bit small for my liking though, since I like a lot of space to move my arm around and slide it around the canvas. But aside from that, this is a really, really great, less expensive alternative to the Cintiq. So I left a link in the description for you guys, so go check it out if you're trying to get into digital painting. This painting, or the mood at least, was inspired by an earlier piece I did, which was inspired by Thomas Hans. So if you don't know who this guy is, he's this incredible plein air painter, and I absolutely love his work, and I highly recommend you guys go follow him on all his platforms. So he did this painting that really, I just loved the mood and the colors, so it really inspired me. The focus for me during this process was really to try and control myself and not focus on unnecessary detail. I want to simplify things just to see how it impacts my art and see what I can bring back in terms of detail, if anything. I only want to create details that I feel like the image really needs. So I keep the lines here on a multiply layer while I'm doing the first colors, and I'm just painting loosely underneath the lines to set up a really basic color palette. So once I'm happy with the really basic color palette, starting to refine some foreground shapes and trying to add interest, but still keep it simple. And it's a really hard line to walk, as we can see. I start creating simple shadow shapes to define these distant forests, and reserving the smaller shapes and clusters for the closest island, and gradually simplifying them as they kind of recede into the distance. I'm always fighting with myself about stuff like, I know the image is about the cow, the standing stones, and the vista, but don't I need more? Won't the foreground look empty? And if it does look empty, is that even necessarily a bad thing? And if it is a bad thing, what can I add which will actually strengthen the composition and not just clutter things for the sake of adding more? These kind of questions lead me to be more purposeful about everything. I can add little flowers and ivy which help us feel more immersed in the environment, and maybe add some puddles or some reflective surfaces to show that it just rained. So all this kind of stuff just can give more identity and character to the environment. So things like that do serve a purpose. I just need to spend the time to think about what I want to say in the painting, and avoid painting things that are just superfluous just because I'm on autopilot. Sometimes I have large areas of emptiness in my compositions, or areas that are just kind of vacant, and I've had people ask why I don't just crop down or frame things closer to the main subject of the image. But I enjoy a lot of space in certain images, and I feel like it can give some context and often strengthen the subject. But it's just a personal preference thing, and there are guidelines that exist in composition to help understand what generally makes strong compositions. But I think there's no rules, and we can do weird stuff in our compositions if we like the result, or if it evokes a certain feeling that we like. So I'm trying to have some nice color variation, but being careful to maintain overall color harmony. It's easy to get carried away with color when painting digitally, because you don't need to mix paint. So if we're trying to add color variation, things can quickly enter kind of muddy territory. And if we're not conscious of color harmony, it can just not look that good. And this comes down to having a pretty good understanding of color at a fundamental level. In a very blue image overall, for example, you might see leaves on a tree that you perceive to be red, but which are in fact just completely gray, 100% gray. So understanding how we perceive color takes a bit of research and theoretical learning, but as well as trying things in practice and trying things out. So you can look at the work of master painters. A good little exercise is to open them in Photoshop and try to pick the colors you see on the color wheel manually without using the eyedropper on the painting, and make a little mark next to the color you tried to guess on the painting itself, and see how close the color that you picked is to the color that you saw. And if you do it enough, your observational skills will improve, and you'll be able to know the colors you're actually seeing, not what you are perceiving them to be. When my wife and I were in Scotland, we visited Kilkern Castle. It was in this kind of valley surrounded by hills, and it had like a small lake, I guess you'd call it. The ground around the castle had a bunch of these Highland cows, and we met this really nice lady at a little gift shop there who actually owned all the cows, and all the cows had names, and I don't remember their names, but they were funny. But it was really cool. While we were walking up to the castle, there were just all these giant, shaggy brown cows just watching us. we walked around to the other side of the lake from the castle because I wanted to set up my painting stuff and paint from the same spot as Richard Schmidt did when he painted the castle. That remains one of my favorite paintings of his. I thought it'd be a nice way to honor him. My painting there sadly didn't turn out as great as I hoped, but it was still really fun. And I had a bunch of sheep like watching me really close, like they were all around me. So maybe I was a little bit unnerved while I was painting. Also, apparently my ancestors on my mom's side may have actually occupied that castle for a brief time in the Middle Ages, according to Google. So I made sure to pick up a pebble from the edge of the water for my mom. As I've gotten older, I've really grown to appreciate the value of travel. And in my case, as an artist, I found that being somewhere physically, it just gives like an insight which we can't possibly find on Google or Pinterest or whatever. Like the smell, the feeling of the wind, the light, and the temperature, and also just like your state of mind that you were in at that moment in your life. It all coalesces in those memories, and it's such a pure source of inspiration. I just think it's invaluable, and it's really important to travel as much as you can and as much as you're able. Sometimes I do these paintings which don't involve any real design, which are just much more focused on mood and overall feel. I like to do a mix of things and change my art routine pretty often because I think it helps me stay fresh and motivated. I love getting inspired by other art and like movies and games and getting excited to try something new the next time I sit down. I think the availability of online art education is a really great thing, and it's overall healthy for the art community, especially for the next generation of artists. But I sometimes worry that young artists are too focused on the commercial side and can somewhat lose the fun in it. It seems natural to me to begin by having fun and drawing just for yourself, like when you're a kid, exploring your own ideas and building things in your own way and finding your passion that way. Then once you've found your passion, you can direct that positive energy towards something like a career or just a hobby where you can find personal growth or fulfillment. Obviously, there's going to be disappointment along the way, but that's true of anything that you care about. But in my case, I've never come even close to quitting, and that's how I know I'm doing the right thing for me. I can't be like 100% sure that it'll always be my career. I hope it is, but obviously I can't be 100% sure. But I am 100% sure that I will never stop drawing and painting as long as I'm physically able to do it. There's tremendous value in art as a hobby, and I think it's easy to attach our self-worth to commercial success in this kind of capitalistic like social structure. I'm not an expert on those kind of topics, and I only can speak from my personal experience, but it seems to me that most people are always asking things like, oh, where are you working? Like, what are you doing? What's next? What does your job pay well? And I get it, and I do ask people those questions myself, but it's just how we're conditioned, I think. I just think there's a whole ocean of fulfillment beyond the monetary and commercial. I just want to validate you guys who just love art and creating stuff, but don't necessarily feel it's right for you as a career. It can be hard to get exactly what you want from pursuing art, since knowing what you want can be a pretty nebulous idea. But the feeling of actually getting closer to whatever that is such a great feeling that I wish everyone could experience. And that's part of the reason I'm trying to push, the pursuit of art through my channel. You don't need natural talent, and you don't need to do what's popular. You just need some introspection, some self-discipline, and some passion. And if you're watching this during a low point and you're feeling discouraged, I believe in you, and don't try and fix everything today. Go to bed and things will feel better in the morning. I'll see you in the next video.